Chest up, shoulders back. This is Revival Fitness, your home for gains and brains. We gotta talk again about strength standards today, because I recently put out the intermediate purgatory video. We talked about it there, we've talked about it in the past regarding novice purgatory, and in general. That said, we have focused mainly on the bench, squat, and deadlift. It's good to have an idea of how strong you should be, or at least should aspire to be, when it comes to other exercises too. So we return again to this site, strengthlevel.com. And I've mentioned before, take these with a grain of salt because they are self-reported. There's no way that this website or anybody else really, with this amount of user input, could realistically keep track of everybody and verify it. And we're going to use them because, well, really, what else can we go by? Seeing people hit even the general intermediate standards I've laid out is relatively rare. If you're in a more serious gym, you're going to see a lot bigger and stronger people there, broadly speaking. I think the overall trend is going upward. I think there are more strong people across the gym, no matter what type that you go to, as the culture gets more and more popular. And of course, what you see on social media, it can get to your head and give you unrealistic math in terms of what is normal today, because you log on to Instagram or YouTube or wherever else, and you see 18-year-olds benching 500 pounds, deadlifting 700-800, they're squatting 600-700. You see kids who are just getting into college, getting IFBB pro cards. You see influencers all across the globe that are ripped up with six-packs and big muscles. It can be very easy to lose sight of these things and assume that you are just completely doomed, when in reality, you're not. You could be making faster progress, in all likelihood. Be sure to check out more of my content and what I offer down below, but do not fall into the trap of thinking that because you are not a genetic phenom, and you are not making massive waves on social media, and you're not just progressing at light speed, that you're never going to amount to anything, and that this is not worth your time. And in that same vein, given how much time we all spend on the internet, you also don't want to fall into the trap of your security being compromised. And there's many ways that it can happen today. And that's why I have partnered with the sponsor of today's video, NordVPN. NordVPN is your #1 resource to make the internet better than it is today. It should be free of online threats, censorship, and surveillance, and with their tools, we can get closer to that goal. If you don't know, VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, and NordVPN is the fastest and most reliable there is. You will become safer online with a single click. NordVPN is privacy-oriented. They don't track or share what any of their users do online. Your traffic is protected with robust encryption, and you can turn on Kill Switch, their feature that makes sure that your data is never exposed by accident. And you can use them at home or on the go, no matter where you may be. NordVPN has all the tools needed to combat the most common cybersecurity threats of today. This includes hacking and attacks on your passwords, phishing scams, DDoS, malware, ransomware, and also even using the internet in public, entering confidential information. It is very easy for people there to take advantage of that if they know how. And someone now definitely does. And on top of that too, NordVPN also has the dark web monitor. A lot of data leaks go unreported, which means that hackers can have their hands on your credentials right now. NordVPN is going to discover that and alert you if that is the case, so you can keep your identity protected. I have had cards in the past get the number stolen. I've woken up to random charges, especially when it comes to older people in your life too. When it comes to your parents and your grandparents even, they are oftentimes prime bait for a lot of these online scams. So protect yourself, protect those that you know. You can do it all very easily with NordVPN. Do not wait to become a victim. Go to my link down below, nordvpn.com/revivalfitness. Get the NordVPN 2-year plan, as well as 4 months extra for free. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee as well. So in good faith to all the bros, we're going to begin with the bench press. Now, as talked about in the intermediate purgatory video, there's 2 ways they classify this. One is body weight ratio, which I think is much better objectively. Second, they just have basic weight. And the weight I understand, right? Intermediate, they say 217. That's close to what I say, 225. Advanced, 291. I say 300 to 315, roughly around there, right? So this all makes sense. But depending on the overall size of the lifter, these are going to be much more or less difficult. These weights right here, they really do not line up with what a lot of people would expect for the body weight ratio. When it comes to a lot of you guys watching, you're going to be anywhere from about 160 to 180 pounds. And if we go beneath that, most of you, unless you are very short, are not going to really be in the 150 pound or below range, assuming that you've built a good amount of muscle so far. And unless you're quite tall, you're not going to be really above 180 pounds unless you've got a good amount of fat. Hold on, let me get the commie units. Okay, let's start at 160. 160 divided by 2.2 is round up to 73 kilograms. Then 180 divided by 2.2, round up to 82 kilograms. Now for the height, if we take 5'9", which is average, 69 inches, nice, that comes out to 175 centimeters. So give or take a bit from that, that's where most guys, broadly speaking, are going to fall into. So let's just say for the sake of argument, we have a guy who is 165 pounds. And he has the intermediate bench press times 1.25. That comes out to 206 pounds. I can say for myself, I was around 170 pounds, I think. Maybe a few more than that when I finally hit the 225 bench press years ago, and it was not an easy rep. I know for a lot of you that the bench press comparatively, especially to lower body exercises, even to pulling exercises, it progresses noticeably slower, and that's just the cross you bear. But then let's move up to advanced. Assume 165 pounds again, times 1.75. That comes out to 288.75, round up to say 290 pounds. The average guy, please understand this, is never going to bench 290 pounds if his body weight is 165. The only scenario that's going to really happen for the average dude is if he's built a ton of muscle mass and he's cut down really, really lean. Even then, given the leanness and the loss of leverage, that still might be very, very difficult, if not impossible. So you can see the jump here. Intermediate, okay, sure, definitely doable. Advanced, way harder. For instance, I hit the 315-pound bench press. And those of you that are using kilograms, you're going to have to keep up on your own here. I cannot possibly do all this math two ways. Just you're going to have to deal with it, guys, sorry. But I hit 315 when I weighed about 200 pounds. That is 1.57 times body weight multiplier. You could round up to 1.58. Big deal, right? That was excruciatingly hard for me. I had to intentionally gain fat and water weight for the leverage boost just to get there. So for me to get to even a 1.75 times body weight bench press, I talked about recently too, I don't know if that's feasible for me to ever do. That said, if you do get close to say even 1.5 times, you're going to have noticeably developed chest, shoulders, triceps, really your entire upper body's going to have to be, unless you are one of these rare genetic freaks who's built like an ant, but you can power lift up a storm, and guys say, oh see, but that disproves the rule. No, it doesn't. It only further proves it. So if we want to take the middle of the intermediate and advanced numbers, and say aim for 1.5 times body weight bench press, I think most guys are going to be very happy with that. By the time you manage to do so, with a good amount of muscle mass already built, you're going to be undeniably big and strong. Now let's look at the back squat. Intermediate, they say 287. I say 315. Advanced, 381 compared to my 405. Now once again though, you notice this trend with all of these on this website, at least that I've seen so far. The body weight ratios, in comparison to the standard weight, it throws things off in a way that is not in the lifter's favor. So let's take the 165-pound lifter times 1.5. That means for him an intermediate squat is 247 pounds. That is not difficult at all. I would still consider that firmly in the novice phase. Now let's take 165 pounds times 2.25 for advanced. That is 371. Hitting a 250-pound squat weighing 165, almost every guy's going to be able to do that if they really put their mind to it. Reaching 370 pounds, weighing 165, that is a whole different story. And I think for most guys, getting closer to 180 pounds, assuming you are average height, that's going to be much more advantageous to reaching, say, 370, 390, even 405 pounds on the back squat, as opposed to staying 165 pounds. In particular, if you've got longer legs for your torso, keep that in mind too, because something else that the body weight ratio even does not take into account is limb length, and that can really affect your overall output on given exercises. So if, for example, we get up to 180 pounds body weight, same advanced multiplier 2.25, that comes out to 405. I think that is more reasonable than hitting 370 at 165. Now the deadlift. This one is, I don't want to say it's a blind spot for me, but it is my genetic strong point without a doubt. So I have an easier time with this than a lot of you guys watching are going to. They define advanced as 440 pounds. Intermediate's 336. Now let's look at the body weight ratio. Intermediate for them, they define as 2 times body weight. Advanced is 2.5 times. So let's take the 165 pound guy times 2. That's 330. I think any 165 pound man with enough effort can deadlift 330 pounds. I mean, that's 3 plates and a little bit of change on each side. That is definitely doable if you don't have completely unlucky genetics and or if you actually train your legs. You could do that while skipping legs, really. So advanced is 2.5 times. Multiply by 165. That comes out to 412 pounds, round up to 415, or round down to 410, whatever your preference is. Doing that at 165, if you are blessed at the deadlift and you've got long arms, I think that's doable. For most guys, though, we get into the same thing as we talked about earlier. At that body weight, unless you have built a ton of muscle mass and you're quite lean, and I hope you prove me wrong on that, by the way, and you can do that much easier with a well-structured training program and a full detailed guide on how to keep progressing, which I provide in my training programs. Check them out down below and check out testimonials on my site too. So if we want to do similar to the bench press, if we want to get the combination of these two and divide by 2, that's 2.25. Let's see 2.25 times 165 pounds. That comes out to 370. That I'd say is more reasonable. And once again, this is all possible to do. But by the time you're getting, I'd say roughly 4 plates aside on the deadlift, your posterior, your chain, your core, they're going to be strong. Like, you're going to have traps that stand out in a general shirt, for sure. All right, now here's an interesting one. They call it the shoulder press. It is the OHP, or really classically called just the press. Standing barbell. Okay, so they define intermediate as 142 pounds. Advanced, 192. Oh man, okay. Most guys, I can say this with supreme confidence, they're never going to reach 190 plus pound overhead press, with strict form, at least. I mean, even 185, that is a big accomplishment for the average dude. And this is a prime example where a lot of guys are probably fudging the numbers, because they will count lowering the bar to like their eyebrow height and then pressing it as the full range of motion, but they define intermediate as 0.8 times body weight. Times 165, that's 132. Okay, so we're about 1 plate aside again. Okay, that makes sense. Even so, for a lot of guys, long arms especially, getting to 135 at 165 body weight, that's going to be a considerable challenge. Now let's look at advanced, 1.1 times body weight, times 165, oh dear, 180. Now let's look for a second though at the weight they mention. They say advanced is 192 pounds. So if we do that, the lifter's going to weigh, according to this, about 175 pounds. Guys, the average lifter who weighs that much, pressing 190 plus pounds overhead, that is a complete pipe dream. Okay, let me just think about this for myself even. Let's say I'm 190 pounds right now times 1.1. That comes out to 210. I do not believe I could do that right now. Now my shoulder is nursing back to health. Slowly but surely, I'll keep you guys updated on that too. Maybe a future video. But for myself, man, 210 right now, if I had to bet my life on it, no chance. I mean, even if I really specialized on the overhead press, I don't know if I could reasonably do that, keeping my body weight in this multiplier range. I just don't know if genetically given arm length, that's doable. And people would see my shoulders and think, oh, you'd be able to hit that easily, bro. It may appear that way, but I've also got these things. Okay, so if we seek out an intermediary between the intermediate and advanced points, that comes out to 0.95 body weight multiplier. Let's multiply that by 165. That comes out to 156. Still not going to be easy at all. I mean, realistically, guys, for most of you watching, the intermediate body weight ratio here of 0.8, that's going to be hard to really surpass reliably. If we want to go up to 0.9, for example, aim for that definitely. But most guys, man, pressing their body weight, full range of motion, no matter what they really weigh, that's going to be tough to do. So if you can simply hit 1 times body weight multiplier on the overhead press at any point, you're doing pretty darn good. Okay, next up we have the dumbbell bench press. They say intermediate is 90-pound dumbbells. I'm skeptical of that. I mean, I guess for 1 rep, perhaps that would mean if you're talking typical like 8 to 10 rep set or whatever, they'd be working with 75 to 80s, roughly speaking. Okay, sure, I might go a bit lower than that, but we'll take it. Then they say advanced is 129-pound dumbbells, even for a single rep. I think for myself right now, I'm not dumbbell benching at the moment because my shoulder, I'm taking it easy with that. Recently, I did hit 110s for, I think, 5 reps. Even then, hitting 130, not going to happen at that amount. And pressing is not my genetic strong point, to be fair. Even so, 130, I think we're really pushing it with that. Once again, similar to the military press, I bet a lot of guys are going halfway down, and then they track it in this app or this website or whatever and say, see, I did that much weight. It's like, no, you didn't. Intermediate, they say, is 0.5 times body weight. Let's use our 165 example. That means he would be pressing 82.5s in each hand. Make sure you get the micro plates. You can put on the dumbbells too. No gym I've ever seen has 2.5 pound increments on dumbbells past about 30 or 35 pounds. But now advanced, 0.75 times 165. Okay, this is what I mean. According to this website, someone who weighs 165 pounds is going to be pressing 125 rounding up, even 120 rounding down, for even 1 rep at that body weight. It's not surprising, though, given that dumbbell bench, people tend to short stroke it by default, and if you want to stop a little bit short of your chest, I understand, that's fine. I don't like to do that myself. I like to keep it consistent, touch the chest. Let's take the intermediary, though, in between intermediate and advanced. That is 0.625. Okay, let's try that times 165. Even then, that would mean you're pressing 103.125, around up to 105, even down to 100. You're going to have a lot of muscle mass. And by that virtue, you're going to be pretty lean when you do it. And most guys are not going to be doing this as a primary lift, even if you're totally fresh. These are still lofty numbers. Okay, now this is an interesting one. We have pull-ups. There's no body weight ratio given here. So we have just the number of reps total with whatever your body weight is. This is really open-ended, isn't it? Okay, they say novice is 5, intermediate's 14. Advanced is 25, elite's 37. Okay, this really is dependent on body weight. Whenever I was a novice myself, I remember starting my workouts with 12, maybe up to 14 to 15 pull-ups or chin-ups. I weighed about 150 pounds and change, though. So is it really impressive given that I weighed so little? No, it's not. Someone else could be heavier than I was, noticeably, with more muscle mass, but they get less overall pull-ups. But according to something like this, less reps total, they're not as strong. Okay, now it gets more fun, though. We go to 1 RM weight. It says novice is plus 18 pounds added. Yet again, this is totally incumbent on body weight. Then they say intermediate is plus 75 pounds. Okay, we gotta do the 165 example again. Take a guy that weighs 165 at 75 pounds. That's 240 total pounds. Even for a single rep. General intermediate is not doing that. Okay, now let's do advanced, because this just gets better and better. 138 pounds added. Let's assume 165 again. 303 total pounds. Okay, this is out of control. So there's some unique variables affecting this one. But on top of that too, I'm sure the dip is going to be similar if they equate it out the same way. You know, I haven't put a ton of thought into the weighted calisthenics standards in terms of how much total body weight multiplier you should be doing total with just your body weight and then whatever is added on top of it. On that note, very quickly looking at chin-ups, they say intermediate is 14 reps, advanced is 24, elite is 35. Slightly higher than the pull-ups, which in real life that translates because chin-ups you get a bit more overall arm involvement. That makes it a bit easier. They say advanced is plus 132, elite is plus 193, intermediate is plus 75. Oh, I am mistaken. It looks like the pull-up standards are actually higher than the chin-ups. So we have almost 4 million inputs for the pull-ups, under 1 million for the chin-ups. This is another exercise too people will confuse the terms. A pull-up is overhand grip, a chin-up is underhand. No matter the exact distance that your hands are apart, that's the fundamental differentiator. Chin-ups are usually going to be closer grip, but you don't have to do them that way. Chin-ups are definitely easier than pull-ups for everybody I've ever met. Okay, now we've got the dips. They say novice is 8. I could do more than that as a novice, I remember. I think I was able to even add some weight as a novice. Keep in mind, I was quite skinny. Intermediate is 20. Advanced, 34. Elite, 49. Alright, now let's look at the 1RM. Novice, they say, is plus 41 pounds. Novice? Just on paper, that strikes me as very unlikely. Let's do 165 plus 41. That comes out to 206 total pounds. For a novice? No. I don't see that happening at all. For 1 rep even. Alright, let's do intermediate now. 110 pounds plus 165. 275 for a single rep. Who came up with this? Alright, let's just do advanced for the hell of it. 190 pounds plus 165. That's a 355 pound total dip. I have not done weighted calisthenics in a bit myself. Last I remember, this was end of last year, I think. I was doing plus 100 pounds on the dip for about 7 or 8 reps. My body weight was about 190. So that comes out to about 290 total pounds. I was closer to the intermediate portion. And I'm an advanced lifter going based on the metrics we've seen or relatively close to it. It's got to be another case of ego lifting and guys saying that they did this. I swear I did it, bro. Then they input it down and there's no proof of it. You know, a lot of guys, when they do dips, they lower it down like 2 inches and they claim, oh, I did the full range. You didn't. I mean, at the very minimum for competitive purposes, I would want to go until the elbow is parallel with the shoulder. A lot of guys do not go remotely that low on their dips. Keep in mind, too, with the pull-ups and chin-ups, too, oftentimes the same thing. Guys probably don't go until their arms extend. They go like halfway down, still have the crook in the elbow, or a full bend in some cases, too. Okay, next we have incline bench press. They say novice is 142. Okay, sure. I mean, a lot of novices won't be there just yet, but you can get there. Intermediate, 196. Roughly. It will be tougher to get there for a lot of guys than you may realize. Advanced, they say, is 260. Oh boy. Guys, hitting a 260 incline bench press, even if you don't go all the way down to your chest, just lowering pretty far, you need a lot of strength to do that. I mean, at that point, you're able to do 225 for a number of reps on working sets. Depending on your genetics and leverages, that 260, unless you want to get really darn puffy, I'd say it's quite unlikely for most of you watching, myself included. Okay, so they say intermediate is 1 times body weight. Then we go from 1 times multiplier for intermediate to 1.5 advanced. Oh dear. Okay, 1.5 times 165 is almost 250 pounds. Not happening for well over 90% of lifters. I mean, most guys, man, if you want to get to a point that you're benching 225 for reps, let alone 250 plus, you're going to have to weigh mid 180 pounds, maybe even more. Long arms again, strike 2. This is very wishful yet again. And I think we're seeing the same problems come up with a lot of these. Compare these numbers to what you see in your own gyms, in your own life, even in serious ones like I go to. It's not adding up. Okay, let's do the in-between advanced and intermediate. That comes out to 1.25 times. Let's take the 165 example. Even a 205-pound incline bench at 165. I'm not confident for most people. I'm just not. So, I mean, the intermediate range, 1 times body weight for a lot of dudes, that's going to be a challenge for a long time. Now we've got the bent over row. Novice 135, intermediate 188, advanced 253. Even for a single rep, a 250-pound bent over row without tons of body English and a ton of cheating. Not easy at all. They say intermediate is 1 times body weight. So using the 165 example, can the average 165-pound intermediate row 165 pounds 1 time? I'd say that's reasonable. Then we go to advanced, 1.5 times body weight times 165. We go up to 247.5, say 250 pounds, even 245. I was doing Pendlay rows a number of months ago. I was up to about 225 for a handful of reps. So if you want to say that I could get, roughly this 1.5 times standard, let's say I was 190 pounds, that'd be 285 though. Yeah, I think we're overshooting once again here. And this trend just does not stop, right? Guys, when they do this exercise, the bent over row in particular is a cheating frenzy for most people. And it's not to say that you should never move your body a bit with rows. The heavier that you get, the more you're going to have to jerk your body up and down a bit. It's impossible unless you want to keep the weight very low. This is why you have to record your form. Check out this tripod. I'll link it down below. There's no excuse to not record yourself anymore, guys. I don't care. Oh, I don't want to look like one of those self-absorbed influencers, bro. Then never know what your form looks like and just keep spiraling and just keep guessing, okay? But it's not expensive. Set it up. Record yourself. It's not hard to do. You cannot look in the mirror and get a reliable gauge on this while training hard. It's not possible. The Pendlay row is at least usually more buttoned up because you are so close to the floor and you can kind of keep your hips in that same position as much as you can. But when it comes to the bent over row, it's harder to tell. And a lot of people, their torso will shift a massive degree by the time they start the rep to the time they finish. So yet again, we've hit this a number of times with all these exercises as well. These numbers are very, very overzealous in my estimation. I mean, aim for them, go for it. I hope you hit them. But all of my experience, years of training, not only myself, but many, many other people, and coaching, this is rare territory for a lot of these. A lot of these numbers that this site is saying are advanced, that's closer to actual lifters who are close to the elite level. All right, we can see down below too, they've got even machines. They got the leg extension. They've got horizontal leg press. They've got chest press, seated cable row, machine chest fly. These are very vague. We're not going to spend any time looking at those because machines, depending on the gym and the brand, they vary so much. There's no way to equate for them, even though the hypertrophy cells, I'm sure, love to compare the machine strength. But this, once again, is why free weights are the ultimate benchmark for strength comparisons, because they don't have all the variables of the machines. A barbell and plates, even dumbbells, they weigh what they weigh, no matter where they are. You cannot say the same about all these different types of machines. But we'll finish up for the bros looking at barbell curls. All right, they say novice is 66 pounds, intermediate's 103, advanced 149, say 150. 150-pound curl for 1 rep. That is not easy, even if you are advanced by my metrics. I have not done barbell curls myself in a long time. They tend to bother my wrists. If I'm going to do a free weight type of curl, I would rather do an easy bar, which can kind of change things a bit. Dumbbells as well, not bad. I like to do a lot of my arm work at this point, isolation-wise, with machines, and especially cables. I think it's just smoother overall, and there's less stress on the wrists and elbows. Like, I love skull crushers, but they do not love me. But they say novice is 0.4 times, intermediate 0.6, times 165. That assumes a 165-pound guy can curl 100 pounds. 0.85 times 165, that's 140 for advanced. Okay, that's not terribly unbelievable either. Alright, so the curls of all the recent ones we've seen, I'd say this is going to be very tough to do for sure, but not unrealistic like a lot of the recent ones that were just laughably off the mark. So when it comes to the cheating with the curls, because it's common, I've done this too, you tend to really lean back the more that you curl, and it's oftentimes hard to detect that you do so. Okay, we'll do one more for the hell of it, because I saw it, and this is going to be great, I'm sure. The dumbbell lateral raise. Oh boy. Novice, 18 pounds, intermediate, 34, advanced, 54, and then elite is 80. Even 80 pounds for a single rep, without a ton of cheating. Good luck finding who can do that. Okay, but we've got the intermediate is 0.2 times body weight. Assume 165, that's 33. About in line with what we saw. That would mean general rep work, say 10 reps, as an example, is going to be about 25s. Okay, sure. Getting past 35s for lateral raises for reps, even the more experience that you get, you're going to have to cheat in some way to really do that at a certain point. Okay, then we go to advanced, 0.3 times 165, that assumes 50 pounds. It could be done, but by that point, I think you're going to be swaying a bit, kind of shrugging it up. So we end on more realistic notes, which is nice, but a lot of that center part we saw there with some of those lifts, my god, y'all have got to stop lying to yourselves. But this has been it for me, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to check out NordVPN and save. Check out my programs, check out my nutrition guide, stop wasting time in the gym and in the kitchen. And if you want to get in contact with me for full-on coaching or a consultation, check the description. It's all down there. And I will catch you guys next time.